Welcome to Your Fantastic Mind. I'm Jay Watson. This is a show where we explore the mysteries and the science of the amazing human brain. Have you ever misplaced your keys? Forgot a friend's phone number? Had someone's name on the tip of your tongue? Those things happen to all of us. But when Cecile Bazaz was in her 40s, a married mother in the prime of her career, she began to forget more and more. The doctor thought it might be menopause, but it was actually early onset Alzheimer's disease.
It's one of the few days in life that calls for an entire photo album.
Aw, this is my favorite.
The day you marry the love of your life. In this case, the Emory grad redhead, Cecile, who married the Englishman new to America, Alistair.
You like my bouffant hairdo?
Yeah.
They are deeply cherished memories that have fled Cecile Bazaz. The loss of her life, of herself, began when she was just 49 years old, when Alistair and Cecile's only daughter was a sophomore in college.
There had been little signs along the way that something was going on.
Kathleen remembers a trip to a nearby gas station.
Went to a gas station close by our house, and you swipe the card and they ask you to put in your zip code. And when Mom did those functions, and she just looked in the card and she was like, "What's our zip code?" I was like, "Mom, we've lived in the same house for 20 years.
There was the business trip where Cecile couldn't use her laptop because she didn't remember her password. Then she couldn't remember what Alistair and Kathleen liked for breakfast. All the seemingly inconsequential things that make up a life falling away for a once hugely successful banking executive.
She confided in me that she had had a conversation with her manager at work, who said that her performance wasn't up to her usual standard.
I remember thinking it was very worrisome that she could not perform pretty basic addition easily.
Neurologist and geneticist Dr. Thomas Wingo was there the first day Alistair brought Cecile to Emory Brain Health. What they had hoped were symptoms of menopause were instead confirmed as Alzheimer's disease.
I grew up really fast.
Kathleen spent her college summers babysitting her mother.
And then eventually got to the points where it's like, I'm feeding her now, or I'm changing her diaper. Never really thought that I would be 20 years old and changing an adult diaper. I thought that was something that I would be doing in my late 20s when I had a kid of my own.
We took the strategy of we're going to beat it. And that's what kept, I think, Cecile going for a long, long time, was we figured we were going to outrun it, either with, Alan or somebody discovering something that would have beneficial results. We got outrun by it.
Young onset Alzheimer's, meaning onset on or before 60 years old, accounts for less than 1% of all Alzheimer's disease, thought to affect 50 in 100,000 people. In 10% of young onset cases, there is a family history. A grandparent will have it, then their child will have it, then their grandchild, with each generation facing a 50% risk. Dr. Wingo and his team began research to discover the cause for the other 90%, like Cecile, who didn't have a family history, although she did have a gene, ApoE4, a variation on the more common ApoE3, which has been connected to an increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. Wingo and his team looked at the risk of Alzheimer's disease among parents and children in 702 people with young onset from 32 Alzheimer's disease research centers across the country. They compared them to over 5,000 people with late onset Alzheimer's.
It really surprised us.
What surprised Wingo was that among the 702 people with young onset, only between 4 and 8% had a parent with young onset Alzheimer's disease. But when they looked at siblings of those patients, almost 22% of them had young onset as well. How is it possible in families with healthy parents that more children wind up with it?
We were surprised to find that the data suggested that parents who were fine had carried one copy of a defective gene, and they passed it along to a child that inherited 2 copies of this defective gene.
Wingo's autosomal recessive hypothesis means each parent would have a defective copy or copies of a family of genes. That defective copy from each parent creates young onset in their children who inherit both copies. It's like a bad luck lottery for two parents to have copies of this defective gene.
These mutations would have to be very rare in the general population, say like 1% frequency, certainly less than 5% frequency.
The human body has 20,500 genes. Wingo and his team don't know the precise ones involved, but have narrowed the search considerably.
Our sequencing to date suggests genes that are involved in cholesterol metabolism.
If the specific gene or genes could be identified, it would point to new biological processes that could be treated. Hope for treatment.
I'm in love. I'm a believer. I couldn't leave her if I tried.
Here you go, sweetheart. There you go. What do you fancy your lunch today?
Every day, Alistair visits and feeds Cecile at the Mann house, where she now lives.
I've got to believe there's somebody in there. And that's why I don't think one should ever give up on them.
As much as it's caused so much hurt in our family, I think it's brought us closer. I'm just so amazed and so proud of the man that he is.
I play music for you, love.
They play her favorite music, which sometimes elicits a moving foot or gesture.
You love this type of music, don't you, sweetie? I live by one standard, was what would she have done for me?
For Kathleen, now 29, the future is sometimes fraught with worry. She has not been tested to see if she too has the risk copy of ApoE4, like her mother.
It's something that comes through my mind probably once every couple days when I forget something that I should, know right off the top of my head.
And that's when she thinks of her father, his bottomless loyalty and love that he pledged all those years ago, for better or for worse.
I hope to choose a partner in life that has seen this journey and knows this journey that we've been on, and is willing to go that extra mile if that journey comes along again.
It's predicted 7 million Americans will have Alzheimer's by 2025, 6 years from now, a 35% increase, an impending tsunami. While young onset Alzheimer's is only a fraction of this number, each breakthrough brings scientists another step closer to cracking the code on a disease that exacts an unrelenting price.
We desperately need not only individuals, but companies and governments to get behind this, because I can see a time where almost every human being in the United States at least, and probably the United Kingdom too, will be connected to somebody with this situation. It'll be a brother, it'll be an uncle, it could be a wife. There's no way you're not going to be able to say, I'm one step away from somebody who's got it. It's a family disease, it's not an individual's disease.
Stories like Cecile's are unsettling. So now we're going to turn to two of the leading experts in the nation on Alzheimer's to give us a reality check and to empower us with the things that we can do to reduce our risk of Alzheimer's disease.
The number of people living to age 85 or older is just going up exponentially. And that's really the driving force behind the tsunami of Alzheimer's disease. 1 out of every 2 or 3 will have Alzheimer's disease or a related form of dementia.
I always joke that one of the things you can do is be highly selective in your choice of parents. That's a critical factor.
By the time symptoms begin, that person's been having already a couple decade-long journey with the disease, and then that person might live another decade with slow progression. There's enormous overlap in the risk factors for Alzheimer's disease and cardiovascular disease.
It turns out aerobic exercise is gaining more and more traction in terms of evidence for its important role in healthy brain aging. we tend to recommend what are generally considered heart-healthy diets, fresh vegetables and fruits and nuts and light meats and fish, rather than highly processed and fatty foods. We've known for a long time that higher educational attainment actually reduces your risk of developing Alzheimer's and related dementing illnesses. And we think that's because the educational level is sort of a proxy or a surrogate for what you wind up spending most of your life doing. So if you're pursuing things that involve a lot of thinking and problem solving and learning new things, that tends to be very stimulating for the brain.
The key time to be focusing on lifestyle is when you're a young adult and having healthy lifestyle throughout one's adulthood. That's where the big impact, I think, is likely to be felt. It's going to be very hard to prove. We don't do clinical trials that take a lifetime, but what we're learning is those things are helpful for the heart, and they're also, I think, very likely to be helpful for reducing the risk of Alzheimer's disease.
I absolutely expect to see that during my lifetime, that people who are in their 30s and 40s now, I anticipate will be screening for Alzheimer's disease in their 50s or 60s, so that they can actually prevent themselves from developing disease or delaying it for an extended period of time.
The one thing is coffee. I hated the bitter taste when I was younger. Now, I don't know how I ever survived without it. And countless millions around the world agree with me. Turns out, bitterness evolved as a natural warning system to protect us from ingesting harmful things. So, by evolutionary logic, we should want to spit coffee out. But it turns out, the more sensitive people are to the bitter taste of caffeine, the more coffee they drink. The sensitivity is caused by a genetic variant. Scientists with Northwestern University in Australia analyzed previous research of 439,000 people in the United Kingdom who did taste testing exercises and other trials, and discovered this adapted preference for the bitterness in coffee. The researchers said, people who have that heightened ability to taste coffee's bitterness, particularly the distinct bitter flavor of caffeine, learn to associate good things with it, such as the stimulating effects of drinking it. Did you know that babies in motion cover a lot of ground?
Your average toddler is taking 2,400 steps an hour just in everyday play. They're falling 17 times an hour.
NYU professor and psychologist Dr. Karen Adolph is known for her 25 years of research in the field of infant motor development.
How babies learn how to move all of their body parts: eyes, head, hands, arms, legs.
Adolph's research has shown that those well-known milestones, such as sitting and crawling and walking, aren't connected in the way that we think they are.
When a baby first learns how to sit, if you perch that baby at the edge of a really big drop-off and offer a lure from 3 feet away, hey baby, can you lean out over that drop-off? They will just lean out and tumble right in. Over weeks and weeks of sitting, they get more and more accurate to where they seem to really understand, this is how far I can lean, and if I lean too far, I'm gonna fall into that drop-off, so I'm not gonna do it. But if you test the same babies now as a novice crawler, they'll happily crawl right over the edge of the drop-offs all over again, large and small. What babies had learned with an earlier developing skill doesn't help them, it doesn't transfer to a later developing skill. So the fact that we put all those skills on the same milestone chart doesn't mean that one thing is, kind of inexorably leading you higher up this, ladder to the next milestone.
Dr. Adolph and her team have been awarded a $6 million grant from the NIH to create a video data library of infants and mothers at play.
The Play and Learning Across a Year project is a new kind of science. We're calling it synergistic science. So this is a collaboration among 65 professors across the United States and Canada. And the idea is that together we will build a corpus of data about infant and mother natural activity in the everyday, world of their homes, just doing what they naturally do. This is the first time that we can see what really happens out there in the wilds with babies and their caregivers. And then we can relate it to health information and demographic information and census tract information.
The 5-year project will provide even greater insight into the lives and minds of babies and toddlers.
There's never been anything this large, done at this scale, this collaboratively, where we're really using the joint expertise of a whole field rather than the single expertise of one researcher in one laboratory. It's giving us the first look inside the life of a child at these ages.
The friendships between children as they head off to preschool are some of their first relationships they have outside their homes. For children with autism, education today often provides a more inclusive environment, but there's still a long way to go. At one school, that inclusion has been in place for 3 decades, and it's a model that can create dramatic change in all the students.
Sometimes it's tough to pick your favorite part of the day.
This story's a lot like the last.
But at Early Emory Center for Child Development and Enrichment, sometimes it's easy to pick your favorite person.
Sometimes he hugs me. That's true.
Elise and Amiel
You get to cut those fingernails.
are best friends,
And they're super pointy.
whose relationship
Well, I made the aerial picture for you. Yeah, I never took that home again.
delights all who know them.
Wow, she's 4 years old. 4.5. No, you're 4 years old. You're just 4. No, I'm 4.5.
So Amiel is 5.5, and he was diagnosed with autism in March of 2013, exactly 4 years ago.
Amiel, like 1/3 of the students at Early Emory, has autism. Elise, like 2/3 of the students, does not.
Putting them together, they learn how to build meaningful friendships with peers that they may not otherwise be put in and be put with.
Early Emory was one of the first places in the country in 1985 to create this inclusive model, one in which typical children and children with autism are together. The curriculum mixes developmental brain science research with early education practices. It's mixed into a day filled with what children want to do, play, and learn. Decades of research has shown that having models, typical kids, to imitate and learn from actually changes the brains of children with autism.
And with that is changing the brain and developing new neural pathways or changing neural pathways so that they're learning to compensate for those deficits due to the autism. They're learning how to make those up and how to really get normal social interactions, normal language development.
This exposure to incidental learning can lead to profound results. About 1/3 of children with autism can eventually become indistinguishable from their peers, with abilities to have meaningful relationships. For Amiel and Elise, it was simple. They liked each other.
She liked me. The first time we met, I think we liked each other. I think the first time we met, we started playing with each other, right? Yeah. I don't know what day it was since we forgot what day it was, right? Could have been a Monday.
I was thinking it's
been a while since you've been to the park.
Yeah, we
but
should
they do
that.
lots of play dates.
Yeah, we've gone to the park together.
Yes.
Amiel's mom, Rachel, says Elise is his first real friend.
They were connected from like the first day.
Amiel began by being a good friend to Elise, who was new last year.
I feel like he did a great job of reaching out to her when she was new.
That's so sweet.
Yeah, and making her feel comfortable and helping her make friends.
There's an honesty that happens in the best friendships.
He goes wherever I go because he likes me. Well, sometimes I don't.
Friendships filled with bows and boasts.
Nothing left to prove, nothing left to prove.
The research has shown something else. Typical kids benefit as much as the students with autism, but in a different way.
Most of them are more empathetic. They're not as noticing of differences of other kids. They have a lot more compassion for people. And the research shows that over and over again for inclusion in general, but especially when they're included with children with autism.
At 4 and a half and 5 and a half, these two teach us that despite differences, we can travel the same path together.
She hugged me back.
Go!
Kids don't see differences the way we adults do. A brief trip on social media these days shows you how divided we can be, which is why it's good to remember a simple truth. We all want friends. We all want to feel included and supported. In that way, Amiel and Elise are teachers, reminding us that embracing differences opens doors and minds to friendship and happiness. That's going to do it for us this week. We'll see you next time on Your Fantastic Mind.